Gupta, who is the CEO, Nilesh Gupta, who is the Managing Director, and Ramesh Swaminathan, who is the Executive Director and Global CFO and Head of IT and API Plus SBU at the company. Thank you so much for your time. Let's first start with you, Vinita. Break down your numbers. Your US business has performed exceptionally well, above expectations too. I think we're all excited to hear how the key launches in US have performed over the quarter. Some highlights, if you could share on how the US business has performed.
Yes, so it's been a stellar quarter in the US with both the new product launches as well as our inline products. So Tolvaptan that we launched in the year was a material contributor. We continued to grow our share of generic, and we've been exclusive in the market. That has done extremely well for us. And then Mirabegron, where, we have shared exclusivity or we are in the market with Zydus, the generic market share grew as well. So that was a good contributor, as well as our inline products like Spiriva, where we exclusive generic again in the marketplace. Albuterol also was strong contributors during the quarter. In addition, I'd say our inline products, where we typically experience, a small single-digit erosion, we had strong volume growth. So overall, it was a great quarter for us in the US.
Right. Vinita, you have 22 exclusive FTF opportunities. Could you indulge in the market sizes and market share for the top few of these? And also, what is the potential revenue that you're expecting from this?
Yeah, so, as we don't really call out individual products, and from a revenue perspective, I'd say that, our pipeline is extremely rich, which gives us the confidence that in our plan period in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll be able to grow the US business, on a double-digit basis. When I look at our pipeline for the next 3 years, we have roughly around 50 to 60 products that we plan to bring to market. And within the new product launches, we have approximately 10 exclusive first-to-file products where we hope to be either exclusive or semi-exclusive with authorized generic in the market. And we have biosimilars, in this fiscal year, we expect pegfilgrastim to be a material contributor to the business in the US. Hopefully by the end of the fiscal year, we should have ranibizumab in the marketplace as well. And as we look at the next 3 to 5 years, we expect products like aflibercept, products like pegfilgrastim on body to come to the market. 29, we expect etanercept to come to the market. So material contribution from the biosimilars. And I'd say that in the next couple of years, we also will start seeing the impact of our 505(b)(2)s that we've been working to build over the last couple of years.
Okay. Ramesh, let's come to you now. API revenue declined about 17.7% for FY26. Can you help us understand what has led to this decline? And more importantly, what's the FY27 outlook for this segment?
Well, in the case of API, that we have a number of products based out of Pen-G, and Pen-G prices have been declining. It was a high of $22. It came down to about $7.50 over a period of time. And clearly, when it is actually a falling life kind of a situation, people are stay away from buying. So to that extent, there was of course people stayed away, and that impacted the overall demand. And there was, of course, in a general sense, lack of demand for certain products like Cefaclor, and because of that, the intermediate 7-ACCA was not selling and the like. But the situation has actually reversed out in the fourth quarter. As you can see, there has been a blip there. So from that perspective, we are optimistic about its possibilities for at least the current year and going forward. We are also in the process of actually looking at a number of newer products. So essentially, the medium-term prospects look a lot better for us.
All right. Nilesh, the GLP-1s are getting intensely competitive globally. The Novo and the Eli Lilly are, entrenched, and there are dozens of other generic fillers as well. What is Lupin's strategy in this space?
Sure. And, as a large cardiometabolic player, obviously playing in the GLP-1s is of strategic importance to us. We, as with other generic semaglutide launches, launched in March. We are top 3 in market share. I think about 10 players launched, so we're top 3. So it wasn't as many players as we expected. And that's not relevant. I think what is relevant is that 3 or 4 players get to meaningful scale. We're definitely one of them. And our goal would be to be within the top 3 as far as generics are concerned. That is the largest part of the GLP market growth in India at this point of time. And I think it's a great opportunity for Lupin. We have a differentiated product. We have a differentiated go-to-market, a very strong patient support program. So lots of good stuff on there. As we mentioned earlier, I think the other big market for us in the near term would be South Africa. We have it for markets like Canada through partnerships. But the big market to watch out for us will be India. We don't have not just a semaglutide, but then, I think there's a follow-on, NCE that we're working on, bofanglutide that we've talked about in the past. And there's a bunch more of GLP-1s that we're chasing. So exciting, very exciting part for cardiometabolic.
Okay, and on that note, Nilesh, licensing and supply agreement with Zydus for semaglutide in India, that's your latest development in that segment. How has the performance been so far, and what's the outlook?
It's been strong. I mean, like I was saying, in the reported numbers, there was only 9 days of this. I think it was strong. I think April was much stronger as a number. I think we emerged as amongst the top 3. And that's because the Zydus product that we market also is a differentiated product. And I think we're seeing that benefit. Obviously, we're seeing the relationship that we have with doctors helping in this equation as well. I think it's going to be a very solid year for our semaglutide.
Right. Vinita, coming to you, tell us more about the Visu Pharma acquisition. What revenue to EBITDA does this add, and what's the integration timeline going to be?
Yes, so we just started integrating Visu Pharma with Lupin. In fact, last week we had our first meeting. April 1st, we have started the integration process. So it's been a very good start for the organization. The business is roughly around 60 million euro and EBITDA accretive for us. So we're very pleased with the addition of the business, especially in our European P&L. The company enables us to expand our presence in Europe. We were already in UK, Germany, and France. Visu Pharma expands us into Italy as well as Spain. And it also builds a substantial specialty component in our European business and developed markets business. In addition, it will enable us to really bring the other therapy areas that we're focused on, whether it is respiratory products, that's been a material driver for us in Europe, as well as biosimilars and Namuscula into Italy as well as in Spain. And, the portfolio, the ophthalmic portfolio that we acquire through Visu Pharma, we have the potential of launching the products into other regions of Lupin, in particular in Latin America and Southeast Asia, and perhaps others. So multiple areas of synergies that our teams are working upon, but, really good start for us with the integration.
Okay, and lastly, Ramesh, talk to us about the FY26 that you've had. It's been a great year for you. What does the board's ambition look like for FY27? Because you did mention double-digit revenue growth in the US.
So clearly, we believe that there is going to be growth in the full year FY27 as well, despite, of course, competition for Tolvaptan during the course of the year. and of course, perhaps competition for Mirabegron as well. There are other products, and as Vinita was mentioning, biosimilars, number of products would get introduced during the course of the year and the like, and there was, of course, Ravicti and so on. And there's, of course, products like, in the emerging markets, the buoyancy in Europe will continue. We have the Visu Pharma acquisition and the like. So clearly, we are, bullish about the future. And you speak about margins, this has been a very good year. But there are, of course, tailwinds in terms of, cost increases because of air freighting, or for that matter, ocean freight and the like. And there's, of course, input cost increases. All of this, of course, have to be taken into account when you speak about the margins. And the competition on the products front. So all said and done, I think we would be in the range of about 25% for the full year, starting with, in fact, a higher base for the first quarter. But clearly, over the, we need to be cautious about various headwinds, and we'll take action as it, as is appropriate for that in that context.
Thank you to all three of you for joining us and weighing in on the numbers and the growth roadmap ahead. Vinita, Nilesh, and Ramesh, thank you so much for taking the time out. Well, with that, it's time for us to slip into a short break. Don't go anywhere. After the break, we'll get you more updates on the market. Stay tuned.